on the new national minimum wage, Mr. President is going to consult further so that he can have an informed position, because the new national minimum wage, like I said, is not just an issue of the federal government. It affects the state governments, it affects the local governments, it also affects the organized private sector. And that is why it is called national minimum wage. It's not just an affair of the federal government.
You know, discussion about minimum wage is a very emotional thing. The worker is saying, my wage can't take me home. And they say, enumerates what he needs. Nobody is talking about productivity. Nobody is talking about ability to pay. Nobody is, and part of it, as I said during my presentation here, is the lifestyle, the impression that we gave from the public, this thing that all is well. They see those convoys of 30, 40, 50, can you tell him you cannot pay this much? Then they say, wait a minute, no, if a member of National Assembly can go home with this, why not? So, and we have all these parallels. I said, sometime I wish that we'll pay everybody minimum of 1 million.
For some time now, the economic crunch in the country has stretched a higher percentage of Nigerians to elastic limit, and it has persisted. Even the organized labor, NLC, TUC, and other labor movements have been clamoring for wage increase for members under their affiliations. And of course, the situation has been like that of a woman and a meat seller pricing or arguing over price in the market, which the Yorubas would call Dunodura, between the federal government and the labor union. Well, let's quickly look at it from the onset. You know, there's a concise historical background on the minimum wage in Nigeria since 1999. 1999 was the start of Nigeria's Fourth Republic. The minimum wage was 3,000 naira per month under President Olusegun Obasanjo's administration. And in 2000 to 2010, it was like remaining unchanged for a decade until it was increased to 7,500 naira per month under President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. And in 2011, the minimum wage was further raised to 18,000 naira per month, following negotiations between the federal government and, of course, labor unions. From there, 2018 to 2019, under President Buhari's administration, there were prolonged negotiations and disputes between labor unions and government over minimum wage that culminated in the signing of National Minimum Wage Act in April 2019, which set the minimum wage at 30,000 naira per month. Now, from 2022 date, since the implementation of the 30,000 naira minimum wage, there have been periodic discussions on its adequacy amidst economic challenges, and then calls have been on for adjustment following inflationary measures and pressure following economic conditions in the country. This timeline highlights the key developments and adjustments in Nigeria's minimum wage from 1999 to present date, and then reflecting on government's responses to economic conditions and negotiations with labor unions. I have with me to discuss this today two gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on Viewpoint on Osrc TV. My name is Adebimpe Akindele. I have, of course, those who know all there is to know about the labor movement and the minimum wage and what it should be when talking about minimum wage. I have with me Comrade Alex Adeniyi, a public affairs analyst and former chairman, Africa Action Congress. Good to have you join me.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers at home.
I also have Comrade Solomon Adelekon, who is the former vice president of NLC National, ex-president, Amalgamated Union of Public Corporations, Civil Service, Technical and Recreational Services Employees. Comrade, good to have you.
Thanks for having me on the program.
All right. Let's just set the ball rolling. Having had all that, I mean, preliminaries about what has generated since the agitation for increased wage has started. You know, let me start with you. Have you ever been in this kind of table before, where there's a lot of going back and forth in the negotiation for wage increase between Labour and Nigeria government?
Thank you very much once again. It's good to be here tonight. We just need to say this very clear and simple. It's unfortunate that 1 year after the inauguration of the present administration, we are still discussing negotiations on minimum wage. We can only sympathize, or better say empathize, with the Nigerian workers, with the Nigerian people as it is, because the minimum wage, the inflation around the country does not only affect the workers, it affects the generality of the populace. And the simple analogy is that what is the percentage of the Nigerian workers compared to the entire country as it is, where we have pensioners, we have artisans, the natas, we have unemployed graduates, we have students, we have youths, we have undergraduates. We are still talking about just one aspect of the economy, which is the informal sector. How about all other informal sectors that have been affected with inflation in this country? And we cannot come to a round table and say this is what we wanted. Over in the past years, we saw how they negotiate minimum wage. It will not even degenerate to this extent. And that was why some of us are of the opinion that, well, if strike is not the option, then Labour should come up with something more tangible where they can actually fight the government. We cannot continue to say there will be inflation if they pay minimum wage. Don't forget that they told us if we begin to pay 100,000 naira minimum wage, it will amount to the Minister of Information said it will amount to about 9.1 trillion naira annually. But they told us when they removed subsidy that subsidy removal will generate 8 trillion naira annually. Then what happens to other IGR in the country? Why are we saying we cannot pay minimum wage of? In 2019, my principal then, Comrade Omoyede, did argue that non-Nigerian workers should earn less than the 100,000 naira minimum wage, and he did advise the federal government on how to generate this money. Now we are talking about 60,000 naira, 62,000 naira, Labour not agreeing for 1 year. In fact, they should down tool and the country we can close down the country. It's a very simple thing. That is just the simple truth. If we cannot come to a conclusion on this minimum for 1 year, Tinubu was part of President Buhari's government for 8 years. Of course, he did not hold any political office, we understood, but he is their godfather. He understood that immediately he's coming in, is removing fuel subsidy. We expected that before you do that, you must have put, a cushion mayor behind your back that this is what I would do. I do not see anybody who climbed the stairs or a ladder from the 4th or 5th step. You start climbing from the beginning. Nigeria is always undergoing very serious crisis, we understood. But you do not feed a minority child and you won't expect him to get fed within a day. That's what the president is doing. Unfortunately, majority of the state governors are also from his party. I do not see where the father speak and the children also contradict. It is, I don't understand what is happening in the presidency with the government. The other time, what the governors are saying now, if we want to say, is that they should remove minimum wage from concurrent list. What happened to local government elections? If INEC have been the one conducting this election over the years, we won't have a situation where more than half of the state in Nigeria today run local government with caretakers. In fact, it's unfortunate that in Ondo State now, we did not even run with caretakers, they run with civil servant. It is not acceptable, it is not correct. And that is why people should rise against this thing. It is not because it is their party, it is not my party. This thing affects APC do not have a different market from what we have. Other parties do not have different market. We all go to the same market. Everything has skyrocketed because of that singular decision to remove fuel subsidy without proper consultation. 1 year after, you are still discussing what is the purchasing power of 30,000 in 2019 compared to what we have now. So I want to commend Labour for insisting that they are not taking 60,000 or 62,000 naira as minimum wage. It is uncalled for. The margin at which you remove the subsidy should be, a magnanimity with what you are going to increase the minimum wages. That is just one sector. So many of us will not benefit from the minimum wage. I am not a federal civil service worker. I'm not a state service worker. I run an independent business. So there is no way I'm going to be part of this. But we must say the truth that the Nigerian workers have been bastardized, have been for so long.
Comrade Adeniyi, thank you. You made your point on that question. Do you feel that way, Comrade Adeniyi? How do you feel? Do you feel this kind of hurt when we talk about this minimum wage for workers? Because I know that, of course, you're not a worker, but you know when a particular sector, when the workforce, the civil service is benefiting from something, I know the money goes round.
Exactly.
You do not benefit, maybe your child or your
exactly
wife or anyone, and so the money
going round will also benefit indirectly when the money goes round.
So, do you feel his sentiment?
Thank you, presenter. This is the mistake people often make.
Okay.
I have opportunity to sit on this table on 2 occasions, negotiating salary for workers of Nigeria. When I was the chairman, Joint Negotiating Council for Ondo State, I negotiated the 18,000 naira minimum wage. That time, Ondo State paid the highest because I negotiated 22,000 naira during His Excellency Governor Shegun Mimiko. As at that time, I was the state chairman of Ondo State. The one did this 30,000 naira. I partook in the negotiation at the national level. Then, I was the vice president of Nigerian Labour Congress. But I want to correct one impression. The idea of civil servants, just 1% of the total populace. I want to correct this impression from 2 angles. Number 1, no civil servant that doesn't have 2, 3, 4, 5 dependents. Like I am here, if I have not retired as a civil servant, I have a wife, I have a dad, mom, I have children that they are all dependent on me. So just you do your calculation and you come and just arrive at the decision that civil servant occupies just 1% of the populace. That is totally wrong. That is first impression I want to correct. I want to draw your attention to this too. Civil servants were the ends that lay the golden eggs. Go to the medical aspect of life, the petroleum, go to airport, you see the workers, they are the ones generating the fund. Day and night. But some other people now spend it. When there are crises, who now bears the brunt? It is the civil servants. So it is on this note that I want to join him by saying, let us look at this minimum wage critically. Vis-a-vis the position of the state governors, which is against the minimum, the National Minimum Act. We have tripartite during negotiation, where we are having the representative of the federal government, we are having the representative of labor from TUC and NSC, that of the private, mid-ton leg, we refer to that as NECA. From the representative of the federal government, we have about 2-3 governors in that delegation leading that negotiation. I could still recollect when we were there, these same state governors connived and wanted to pull out this minimum wage from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, which we fought then that it was impossible. And with the support of people who in the society were able to win that battle. So for state governors to now take on their own, they should leave the minimum wage for them to come and negotiate at state levels. It is against minimum this act of minimum wage. That's number 1. Number 2, labor, the tripartite, they are fixing what the minimum wage should be. If it's not to be 200,000 naira, if it's not going to be 250,000 naira, the state governors will later come back to their states to come and renegotiate. And the act says the minimum, meaning they cannot negotiate less than what is agreed upon at the national level. But they can negotiate above what was agreed upon. So there's no time the state governors will not come back home to negotiate. Like I said earlier on, when Governor Gumiko was there, the minimum wage then was 18,000 naira. But we came back to Ondo State, we negotiated 22,000 naira, which is still possible, which I believe in our state here, which is Ondo State. I want to say we are better, more better than many of these governors, many of these state governments, which I want to believe will negotiate and pay better on whatever is agreed upon by the federal government.
Thank you, Comrade Adelezo. Let me come back to you, Comrade Adeni. You know, when Labour comes out, when the Labour force comes out to talk about minimum wage and to say they are agitating for an increase in wages, you know, it's like going back and forth. Today we are going to strike. You talked about shutting down everything, you know, shutting down all activities and letting government know that you really mean business. You know, when Labour comes out like that to say they are going on strike, or they are asking Nigerians to support them in their agitations, still in some quarters it's been said that Labour is not serious, because most of the time, maybe, I'm not saying that, but in some quarters they are fighting for their own self-actualization, you know, and that once something happens, they just keep quiet and they allow things to go. Do you feel the same way?
Yes, very correct. And we must say this because some percentage of the people who lead the organization acted that way. We must not conclude that the whole generality of people, even if the Labour refuse to do the right thing, the Nigerian masses also have a right to fight for their rights. The principal priority of government is security and welfare of the people. When they say welfare of the people, we are not talking about the
So when government is not ensuring that the welfare of the people is prioritized, like we've been in this for only God knows how it's going to, I mean, when it's going to end, what do you think Labour should do? And if Labour is not doing what they should do, what should the people do?
Yes,
we have seen in countries,
the people.
In nearby Kenya, we
saw what happened. Yeah. The people will only wait, but there is a limit to our patience, and that is where I am going to. The Labour are organized set of people. Why? Because if in Ondo State, for instance, Labour are coming out, it is different from when people are just occupying the street. The law, recognize Labour. The law do not recognize the people. When it gets to some particular area, maybe when we are talking about the legal aspect of it, of course, everybody has his own right. But government are free, and that's what the government of the Tinubu-led administration should understand, that they have failed the country, they have failed the masses. As a result, the Nigerian people are with the Labour union. We are only waiting for them to start this agitation. The crisis, the inflation, whatever is happening in Nigeria now has gotten to the peak where, if not for God, because Nigeria is a religious...
I just asked you whether you are sure Labour is sincere in actualizing this thing.
I am not so sure, because in the last 1 year, if they are actually sincere, we expected that by now, like the last strike that was called off, we were shocked. Nigerians were shocked that how do you say because of an agreement that has not even been discussed, you are suspending a strike? You, of course, you decided that because they said they are giving you an agreement, you said 1 week, or was it 1 week or 10 days then? Now we are running to about 4 weeks and nothing is happening. The Nigerian people, it is the fact that they are losing interest in the Labour union. But we want to beg the Labour union, we want to charge them that they should take the bull by the horn. The economic crisis in this country has gotten to a situation where every responsible man, every reasonable man being should say no to federal government discussing just one aspect of, before you remove the subsidy that led to this crisis. It was the subsidy removal that led to this crisis. How much do we sell fuel in 2014 when minimum was 18,000 naira? How much do we sell in 2018-19 when minimum was 30,000 naira? The fuel removal skyrocketed the money for petrol. In Akure now, we buy as much as, and that is another very unfortunate situation. Once we do not have the major marketers selling fuel in this Akure Ondo State, the independent one they can adjust their pump 3 times in a day. And we say we have a government have failed the people should rise against it, but we are only waiting for Labour because they are the organized sector recognized by the law. When they move, people follow. That is just the same.
Let's listen to Comrade Adeleke, because I know that he's itching to speak, and I'm going to add to what you're going to speak about. Actually, you know, there's a review mechanism for the wages for civil servants, and the Nigerian government periodically should review the minimum wage to adjust to economic conditions and inflation. Based on what he's saying, and the minimum wage at 30,000 naira, we all know how much a bag of rice goes for, and of course now fuel is about 700 and something naira in Akure as at this morning. Some people sell 800 naira. How do you want to justify your fight? Because when he said Labour is not sincere, I know that you felt somehow. So how do you justify the fight of Labour?
Thank you, Presenter. I want to disagree with what my colleagues have just said about sincerity of Labour to negotiation or actualization.
You have to do that kind of defense.
Yes,
anyway, because majority of the people outside,
you listen to me.
Their belief.
That is their belief.
Okay.
But I want to draw your attention and the attention of my colleague to this fact. Who is the most hit with this inflation and hike in all sectors? It is the civil servants, be it at the local, state, or federal. As whatever I buy is what I will sell. Once the salaries of the workers are not increased, the problems now will be on them. That is number one. And from the 30,000 they earn on monthly basis, if they now fail, because by the end of the month, even before the end of the month, the 30,000 naira is exhausted before you collect the salary. So because we are the most hit, we are the one that bears the brunt of what we are talking about. So on this note, I want to say that the sincerity aspect of it, knowing fully well what our members are facing at home, I want to say Labour is sincere. It is the government of the day that is not sincere on this negotiation of minimum wage. Let us look at the Minimum Act. It says we need to review it 5 years after, even without negotiation. Ordinarily, the federal government ought to have invited Labour, invited NECA, let us sit, review, without the public knowing what is happening. But the government has always been reneging on this agreement. Is that the fault of Labour? It's not the fault of Labour. It is because we are having government that is not caring for the people. That is one. Two, coming to this issue of negotiation and the minimum wage. Let us talk about the minimum wage and the negotiation. Yes, people may be saying it's dragging too much, it's delaying too much. There are procedures in Labour, and these procedures must be followed to the letter. And during negotiation, there's a law that backs us. When you are meeting with the government and you reach an agreement with them, duly signed, you can't just go out and renege on that agreement. But before Labour will go ahead and sign any agreement with federal government, the government must have committed to that agreement. But unfortunately, the government that we are having today is not so. I was a party with the president when we were rallying on removal of subsidy during Jonathan regime. Ashwadu led us in Lagos State, but today is doing otherwise.
Thank you so much. We'll take a short break now. The program is Viewpoint on Osrc TV. When we come back, we still have more to tell you on what's going on. The umpires the Labour federal government impasse and how it affects Nigerians as a whole. Do stay with us.
Uneven. I wish, but the reality is you bring the numbers and put it on the table. I just said at the best of estimates I can get, unless something changes tomorrow, federal government's actual revenue will probably not exceed 17 trillion this year. If you share it to all Nigerians, it comes to 6,160 naira per person per month. That's what it comes out per capita. If you take even the total 28.7 trillion and share, it will come down to 10,000 naira per person per month. I'm talking about per capita. If I take my state, I've told you, if you share every revenue that we got, it comes down to less than 2,500 per person. Now, but this money belongs to all Nigerians. That's what you need to provide infrastructure, fix schools, fix states, fix that, and so on and so forth. So, there is that general conversation that we're going to have. We're not talking about benchmarks or to the rest of the world and where we are and so on and so forth. Even where in the world they all have minimum wage annualized that is more than 30% of the per capita income.
We have a category of governors who are carried away by the law of their office, who are seduced by the coterie of security around them. We speak openly against the position taken by the latter, who now act impudently, dictatorially, saying that they will pay what they can pay. There is no justification for that. Clearly, let us look at the figures. Mr. President.
Well, if you just joined us, the program is Viewpoint on Osrc TV, and the topic is the minimum wage, which is creating a lot of agitations, a lot of noises around because of the going back and forth between the federal government and labor unions. And I have a gentleman here, of course, comrades who are discussing that matter, Comrade Alex Adeniyi and Comrade Solomon Adelego. If you just joined us, that's the program. That's what we're talking about. And let me just go on to ask you, Comrade, I will still come back to you. Comrade Adelego, you know, the National Minimum Wage Act of 2019 officially established the 30,000 naira minimum wage. And of course, this is supposed to be reviewed after every 5 years. Why is the National Assembly just looking at what is happening and they're not doing anything?
Thank you, viewers at home. I want to thank the presenter for asking this question. See, one of the problems that we are facing in this country is the National Assembly. And one of the problems of labor today in Nigeria is the National Assembly. One, because they fail to perform their duty efficiently well. Let us look at the amount of money they spend on SUVs, about 57.7 billion naira. 360 SUVs, each costing 160 million naira. And these are set of people that is legislating on workers' welfare, workers' salary, claiming they can't pay 250,000 naira. And each of them goes home with 160 million naira worth of SUV.
Living at the expense of constituencies.
And the people that are even generating the fund, they are made to suffer it. Not that alone. Look at their constituency allowances, their salaries, jumbo pay. In fact, I want to say one of the problems, like I earlier said, that we are facing, and the problem of Nigerians is this House of Assembly.
So what's the way out now?
The way out is, from the labor perspective, that it is not more. Getting 300,000 naira, I will now say 250,000 is more illicit. The minimum, the Labor Act. To do the right thing.
Before I go into that, let me quickly disagree with my comrade there. I want to talk about the artisans. They stated to me that about we are them in what they are into. Leaders might want to do the people. It is normal that and support to take Nigeria get there. Unlike the labor, the civil servant who has pension, when you look at this is the Fourth Republic, opportunity to get to the National Assembly, to get to position of office. It doesn't make any sense to anybody. So the National Assembly, I completely agree with him. The National Assembly are a major problem in this country. They have refused. It falls back on the electorate, and that is just the simple thing. Let us look. Unfortunately, most of these people are the ones who have the resources, to battle and get to offices. People who actually have the interest of the people at heart, they are always very, because when you cannot beat them, they say you join them. So many people with good conscience cannot join them, and that is why we are having the crisis. But the National Assembly, on an ordinary level, this act says every 5 years. I should be happy that if I am a member of the National Assembly and the 5 years elapsed during my tenure, I should be a happy man to raise it. At the chamber, that the national minimum wage says it expires 5 years. It means as of today, even the national minimum wage we are talking about does not have any legal backing any longer, because it expires about a year ago, and we are still discussing it. So they should sit up to their responsibility. Their agitations should be for the masses and not for the government. Government are generating money, they are not feeling the heat, because everything they get, it is just on a platter of gold. They do not kill for fuel as we kill for fuel. We saw them, even on when you have what do you call it, hold ups. The way they bring policemen, they bring soldiers, and they clear the road and they go. It is the Nigerian masses that are bearing the brunt, and that's why I am saying that the Nigerian masses should support the labor union. Either we want to think that they are sincere or not, we should support them. The crisis has gotten to the peak, and we are praying that we do not want the Kenya crisis. We saw what happened during the EndSARS in Nigeria. If not for God, we are almost there at that time.
So,
we do not want a repeat of that. The Nigerian government should live up to their responsibility, security and of Nigerians.
Let me ask you this: is Nigeria doomed now? Because after over 1 year now, over a few months now, nothing is being done. We are just at a standstill. Can we say, well, there can't be a way out?
We have gotten to a point where...
But that's reality.
That's what I'm saying. I said the truth of the matter, yes, is that we have gotten to a point where people will begin to think that can something good come out of this country. But when you look at the policy of the government, the present government in particular, when you talk about, because that is why I criticize, I said something earlier on which I need to correct, about the concurrent list and exclusive list. Yes, they wanted to move it out of the exclusive list. Remember what happened to local government elections. They cannot say, because now they gave them the authority, I mean, yes, the power, particular state, the ruling party cleared the whole, I mean,
if it was your party, you'd still do the same thing.
That is where we are saying that
we have had it both ways. There was a time the opposition was in power, and you know
they did the same thing. Yeah. But because they did the same thing, we are not supposed to come and say because when I hear argument like that when they were in power they destroyed this, and then we can leave to go over here, and I keep asking them. You and I struggle for all of this thing within that. It doesn't concern them. Once the elite, the few elite, the capitalists who gathered at the top, they don't feel it. They do not know whether they belong to party A, party B. Once they join themselves at the top, it is we that are struggling behind them, that are just saying I belong to party, and we begin to defend what is not defended.
Adeni, let me speak with Comrade Adeleko. You know, we are about to round off. See, he said Nigeria is not doomed, and I want to tell you that the masses are looking up to Labour, looking up to what the Labour can do, because they know that if the civil servants have it well, it will go round. Put soccer into the mind of the masses.
You see, what I want to tell the masses and our viewers at home, vis-a-vis the workforce is this. Like I said earlier on, the civil servants were the worst hit as far as this matter is concerned. We can't send our words to private schools like the capitalists do, sitting in the House of Reps of Senate.
Comrade, we know those problems on ground.
But to the people
let us look at what we can do now, because
it's
not going to go on. Nigeria, it's like Nigeria is sitting the reality on a peg of. Before it explodes, what can we do to salvage the situation?
What I will tell the masses, our viewers at home, is Labour will not disappoint. That is number one. Number two, any moment from now, because almost on daily basis, I discussed with my people over there. Plans are on, and by the time they call people out, we want to charge our people to give total support to Labour. Like my colleagues have been saying that they have been supporting, not minding we are sincere or not sincere. I want to say Labour is sincere. They are ready to take the necessary step now because they are fed up. They have tried all means. All means are failed, and they have resolved. Any moment from now, by the time Labour is calling people out for support, either on protest, demonstration, or total shutdown, I plead with our people to support Labour so that for once we'll be out of this quagmire.
Do you think total shutdown is what Nigeria needs right now?
Exactly.
President Tinubu yield.
There is no point, because President Tinubu is acting as if he's aiding and abetting. You remove fuel subsidy that the generality of the people enjoys, and you give the money to single people in the name of governors. Do you know how much the governors now earn in the last 1 year from what we say the people are suffering for? Now we heard is giving another approving another 50,000 from some families within state. Who are going to pick those families? Who know those who are actually impoverished in the state? So let me, a personal opinion, and that has been our position. What interests the generality of the people is what government should look into. No government anywhere in the world do not subsidize anything. Either light, either electricity, either agricultural product, either petroleum. Petroleum is what drives Nigeria. Subsidy must return, and that is what we are saying. Few people are the ones stealing subsidy. Now it is sure that the government
and you want it to return?
Yes, few people. Let us face the few people. The body language of the presidency or the federal government and the president himself does not show that he wants to fight corruption. Yaya Bello was alleged of billions of naira, and for over 6 months they are looking for Yaya Bello. The lawyers came to court the last time. I said he's withdrawing from the case because he cannot locate Yaya Bello. Is Yaya Bello in Nigeria? He's in Nigeria. People in government are treating this man. So the president must come out to say, if you are fighting corruption, fight. If you are not there, allow the masses to enjoy what they enjoy in the last, and not the money going to the governor. The governors are not doing anything with the money, and they continue to collect this money on a monthly basis. FARC has gone up when they go for FARC. The money has gone up. I mean, we are not seeing result anyway.
The struggle continues, and of course, we may still have to bring back this story some other time. You know, as things unfold, we have stories for New Day, and so for more on this minimum wage debate, and of course the imbroglio, you know, it's a story for, like I say, for another day, because it continues until Nigerians are able to, or the workforce are able to get what they feel they should get from government. And then the economic situation in Nigeria, maybe that goes a long way to help us to solve it. Well, the program has been Viewpoint, and my guests have been Comrade Alex Adeniyi, Public Affairs Analyst, former Chairman, African Action Congress. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me today.
And I also say thank you to Comrade Solomon Adelego, former Vice President, Nigerian Labour Congress National, and the ex-President, Amalgamated Union of Public Corporation, Civil Service, Technical, and Recreational Services Employees. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, my name is Adeleke Akindele. Thanks for being a part of the program today. See you next week.